Hello all, welcome to Ambari Cloud YouTube channel. Today I will be presenting Iceberg Full Data Migration. Okay, Chapter 1, Full Data Migration, Architecture and Pros and Cons, and Chapter 2, Full Data Migration Procedure. Then I'm going to do a demo. So what is a full data migration? Migrate Hive table to Iceberg in another location. Let's say you have a Hive table with data files and we want to migrate Hive to Iceberg but in a different location. A different location can be within HDFS or maybe a different location in S3 bucket or maybe Ozone or any other object disk. So here we're going to copy the Hive table to a different location and we're going to create an Iceberg table. Then we run add files procedure. Once you validate after the migration, the add files procedure will take some time based on the size of your table and of course size of your Spark cluster. Then once you've done all the validation testing of your table, our applications, and then you're going to drop and purge Hive table, purge Hive files, then finally you will have a Iceberg table converted from Hive. Okay. So when you will be doing full data migration, when in-place migration is challenging, okay, I already uploaded a in-place migration procedure, step-by-step and architecture. So if you have a high volume, right, and it's difficult to, and it is challenging to run a in-place migration without disturbing the production operations. And if you have a continuous data streaming, a lot of data coming continuously, and then you might have hourly partition or daily partition, whichever. And in those kind of scenarios, you should avoid in-place migration. You can do that, but you need to shut down your streaming. But it depends on the size of the table, your input, your streaming data, right? Shut down in a longer period of time may be difficult to catch up, right? So particularly any streaming tables, I suggest do not do in-place migration. And of course, if I want to do a migration from Hive table to Iceberg from one location to another location, or a different file system, or S3, or different cloud, then you have to use a full data migration. Managing later viewing is challenging always, and even in full data, but it's easy in full data migration approach. Then you can also do after in-place migration, you can do later viewing, but for later viewing you have to follow add files procedure either way. But it's easy to do later viewing data is part of your full data migration. Okay, what are the advantage? So of course there is no need even in place also you're not rewriting, but add files procedure is easy. You have a control and you can do partition by partition. And for large data sets, you can do incremental. That means if it is or even if it is not partition, right? You can do a set of files, add files as a set. You can do that too. Again, partition leveling very easy. You can do per partition base, right? So remember this, right? If this is a non-partition table and you have massive data, then yes, you can do, let's say a bunch of files together. Let's say you have 1,000 files, for example. You can do 10 files at a time. You can do that too. But if you have partition, then you can do partition by partition, okay? Then it's other storage, right? This is differently if you want to do any other storage, other location, you have to do full data migration. Later viewing, easy to do, right? Of course, you can also do later viewing after in-place migration, but when you do full data migration, you can run later viewing in parallel too. Okay, what is the disadvantage? You need additional storage, right? Because you're copying the files from one location to another, you're duplicating, right? So then you need additional storage. It does the cost, but you don't have a choice if you are a streaming application, particularly massive throughput, right? It's difficult to shut down your Spark stream, your Kafka streaming, right? And then you have to do full data migration. It's operational challenge, but it's easy challenge as compared to in-place migration, because you're copying files, then attach it to different location. You have to do your code. Particular operational challenges is your code should be careful, right? You need to make sure test many times. Okay, what are the full data migration? So create an Iceberg table in new location. Copy existing Hive table files to new Iceberg table data location. Execute add files procedure. Okay, this procedure takes time, depends on the size of the table, the size of your cluster, and then do it by partition if you have a very, very large table. And of course, validate the data, test your application, drop Hive table, rename. And one caution here, rename will not work if you use a Hadoop catalog. Okay, you should use a Hive catalog or Glue catalog or any other database based catalogs, right? But if you want to test it using Hadoop catalog, this is fine, but you can't do rename, so just keep in mind. Then you need to work on late arriving files if there is late arriving files. So if there is no late arriving files, go with in place. There is no need for migrating to other locations, go with in place. But different location, late arriving, massive files, I avoid in place. So massive size, very large volume. Try to do the full data. It's shallow migration they call. Okay, let's go to the steps. Okay, so start your Spark shell, and let's create some directories. Okay, so let's create a database. Okay, let's go to here. I'm going to create a database. Now let's look at show databases. I have DB2 ready. Okay, and create a Hive table. Okay, if the Hive table is dropped, just create it. Then insert data. Check data. Okay, check file locations. Yeah, I have 3 files because I insert 3 rows. I have, if I do in a batch, that's a different. Okay, so let's create a Hive table. Okay, let's describe the Iceberg table. Now let's also describe the Hive table. Okay, so see the difference here, managed by Iceberg, and then was specified format. This is a Hive table here. This is an Iceberg table. Okay, this is the location, then table name, column names, right? All the information. Okay, and okay, so once the table ready, what we're gonna do is we're gonna attach files. Right, so before attach files, I need to copy the Hive tables to Iceberg location. Okay, so now let's look at here. Okay, we copy to Iceberg location data directory here. Okay, so we already described the table. So here from Hive, I copied all the WRC files to data location. If it is partitions, you copy all the partitions here, and if it is a small partition table, you can run the entire table. Okay, now here, since it is a files, right, non-partition table, and we're going to run the okay, this procedure will take long time because we have only 3 rows, because it's very, but you have millions of rows, right? Now let's look at the Iceberg table. Okay, Iceberg table is ready. Then let's check the data here. Now, right, okay, let's check the files of Iceberg. Okay, now look at this is a Iceberg files, right? And then okay, then let's look at Iceberg data files. Okay, okay, these are okay. Then we're gonna drop the Hive table. Okay, and I'm going to use db2. Okay, show tables. Okay, here finally have one Iceberg table, and remember, keep in mind there is no backup table created like the way we do it in Iceberg in place migration. Now let's run right. So we still have the file Hive table, Hive files. We're gonna delete Hive files. Okay, then we're gonna check the Iceberg files. Okay, and then I'm going to rename. Okay, now we're gonna rename to people back to, now it's a Hive table become Iceberg table here. Okay, now okay, then let's run the select statement. Okay, now table is ready. So your question here, where is my metadata location, right? When you create Hive table, Iceberg table, right? The metadata is in db2.db. Let's look at that one here. Okay, where is my metadata? db2.db. Okay, okay, here let's take so this is metadata location because we are using a default location. If you look at here, this is the location where metadata going, but you can if you create an external table here, right? I have not given the location. I took the default location coming from here, but you can define the location. That's a table DDL anyhow. So now we converted the files are in the data location and metadata is in db2.db location, but when you do later, if you do rewrite and other stuff, the files will be adjusted. That's part of, so after migration, rewrite data files because these are ORC file, but going forward the data is in a Parquet format. If we insert here, now let's insert just to prove that. Okay, now I'm going to put let's take this data, let's insert some data here, just make sure that your Iceberg table works, right? After migration, sorry, I need to not here. Okay, okay, now you have a 6 rows. That means Iceberg location, Iceberg is working. Next, let's run this here. Now look at this one, right? So initially our table location, right, it went to the default location based on our Spark configuration. But after you insert data, it went to the data location, right? Then when you rewrite these ORC files will merge with these ORC files, will merge with your final Iceberg table. Okay, so careful when you do file copy, right? So you can, instead of when you create an Iceberg table, you can also define your location of Iceberg table, right? Let's try that one. Okay, I'm going to define my location, right? Location, right? And I'm going to give, okay, I'm going to create another, right? Okay, so this is my location of my table here, right? Then let's run that. Okay, now let's describe that table. Okay, now look at this one, right? It is located here. So coming back, right, even though you have a configuration about your warehouse location, but when you create an Iceberg table, and then always create an external table, provide the location, and then copy the files correctly. Okay, so look at the architecture here one more time. Create an Iceberg table, copy the files to your Iceberg data location, add files, and rename, drop your Hive table, right? Iceberg, before that, of course, you need to drop, right? And drop the Hive table, right? And rename, then again delete your Hive table files, then you're good to go. So as a migration procedure, either in place or a full data migration, always follow these maintenance procedures. Rewrite data files, right? Expire snapshots, rewrite manifest list, and before releasing to end users. Okay. Any questions? Reach out to me, send me an email, and I will help you. Okay. Thank you all.